Welcome to today's episode of the Medical Device Marketing Podcast. So this is a really exciting episode for us because this is now all in video. Every podcast moving forward will be filmed in this new style. So additionally, we've got a really controversial topic today, but a really exciting one because this is how companies can really excel driving revenue through their marketing. So we want to talk about why you should bring your content marketing in-house. So we're going to talk about several different things here. We're going to talk about, first of all, what is content marketing. We're then going to talk about the shift that we're seeing in the digital buyer, in order to say a different word. And we've really seen that come on since COVID, but it really was happening way before that. We're going to look at the role of an agency within content marketing and what the negatives of that are, what the positives of bringing it in-house are, which are ginormous, and also how you're going to go about doing that. So let's start. So Jenna, I'm going to come to you first because you are our content marketing expert here at Podymos. So for everybody who's listening now, what is content marketing?
Firstly, thanks for calling me an expert. Love that. But for me, I would define content marketing as any piece of content, video, articles, your website, copy, all of that, anything that isn't directly promotional, and it's more there to educate or to provide value to your audience. So for me, that is essentially what content marketing is, but it's also, your part of your sales process, all the content that you use to support that. Yeah, that's how I would define it.
So you say part of your sales process. So how would you use content marketing? Like why, as, a marketing director, should I be thinking about really investing in content marketing and bringing it in-house? Because it is a big investment. What's the value in it for me?
As a content specialist, obviously, I'm very biased, but I think it's really incredible. So the benefits are just so many benefits. Starting off with building trust, which is, the keystone in marketing, really. Without trust, people aren't going to buy from you. You think about the companies you buy from or the companies you work with, you're not going to invest in a company if you don't feel like they have your best interests. So providing open, honest, transparent content that is designed to educate and provide value rather than just directly promote, that really builds trust, and it also allows your audience to see that you know what you're talking about. You become a knowledge leader in your industry, really, by educating people on this topic. It's also really helpful for your sales process as well and driving your revenue, because when you provide all this content, you're educating your audience and you're really qualifying your buyers. So, for example, if you talk about pricing openly and honestly, and you are making sure that that is accessible for people to read or watch, you're making sure that you're not going to have people coming to you that have no idea about your pricing and they're not suitable for you. So you're not going to enter any sales calls or any, pitches with people who aren't suitable, who are going to straight away say, oh, this isn't the company for me. So it's helping you to save time. It's bringing in more qualified leads. What would you say, Claudia?
I think it's really moving people through your buyer's journey, through their buyer's journey. So when somebody first engages with you as a company for the product that you sell or the technology you sell, they might not be ready to then actually purchase at that point. So they could have a lot of questions, issues and concerns, and actually they need them addressed before they're willing to move forward. And we know that they might not want to get in contact because actually a lot of people don't like, that direct contact to start off with. So we see that through stats. So content marketing, in my mind, is a fantastic way of taking your audience through their journey without actually them having to contact you. So they can make their buyer's decision before they get in contact with you. And we see loads of data that supports that. So it really helps them to answer their questions, fears and concerns, to move them through that journey. But I think the interesting thing with it is it's harder than people think to do because you need to talk in a really open and honest way. And you said about pricing, and I think that's one thing that in medical device you go, no, we can't put our pricing. Yeah, we can't do that. But actually it's how you do these things. So all these things, when you talk about content marketing, you need to push yourselves to how you can do it in a way that adds value to your customer and their buyer's journey, but doesn't cause issues to regulatory or your business model or anything like that. So a great example of that is something like, if you want to talk about price, take an MRI scanner, right? That's a really good example. You won't give the actual price of the MRI scanner, but what you will say is, well, MRI scanners vary from this to this. And the average price is around about these. But what will cause your MRI scanner to go up is this, this, and this feature. What will cause it to go down is this, this, and this feature. And, we're more expensive than the competition because the value we offer is this, this, and this. So it's actually talking around a topic and answering those questions. So that was just like an illustration of how I see content marketing really adding value, because it answers those questions that your sales team are answering all the time in their first call. So a really common question we get asked, we ask, is, what percentage of questions in your initial sales calls are the same every time? And there's a common question we get. In fact, I get higher than this sometimes, but the common question you get back is 80%. So what if we can use content to take 80% of those 80% questions away? What does that now mean to your sales team? Because your sales team are the biggest cost to your entire organization. So if I can take all those questions away, pre-qualify, like you've just said, Jenna, and make sure that every person they get in front of understands those 80% questions and definitely wants to purchase this product or is interested in moving forwards, the conversation just changes immeasurably. So I think, when we talk about content marketing, I think a lot of people think it's about website traffic. Totally. It's also about website traffic. But really, it's, moving your audience through in all their channels. So moving it through their journey online and moving them through their journey in the sales process as well. And there's a lot of other things that go with that. So how do you use this content effectively that actually, your sales team can really, really benefit from it? But it's such an exciting topic. I know I talk about it all the time, but it's a really exciting topic because there are just so many benefits to it. But in my mind, it's all about moving your audience through their journey, because you never know when they're ready to buy. And you need to be there all the time answering the question they need when they need it. And ultimately, that either comes down to your sales team by sending the right information at the right time. It could come down to email automation, actually. But it most likely will come down to online as well. When they type something in, they go through your website and they're like, I'm just not sure about this product. And maybe it's something like this product versus that product. Maybe there's a good comparison there, honest, unbiased. This is how you build trust and move people through.
Yeah, so it's really interesting with other fields, people flood kind of the internet with different pieces of content. And really, from personal experience, you do a lot of your diagnosis of the problem, solutions, everything like this. But medical device aren't the same. A lot of medical device content is about the features, the benefits, what it can do for you, what I am as a company. And actually, people don't want that. They still have a problem, whether it's a problem with a piece of equipment, how to solve a certain challenge. It's all about them. And I think that's what, content marketing really does, is it switches it around. It's much more customer centric. And I guess that kind of, it's that big piece of putting them in the center, answering their questions and giving them what they need at that time. But I guess the question is how? It's a big thing, isn't it?
It's a big thing.
Yeah.
I mean, we know it's a big thing, just because we obviously do it ourselves, but the amount of resource that it takes to do it. So that sort of comes down to what are the benefits of taking it in-house.
Yeah.
So, when we talk about that, when we talk about the people that are needed in-house and what the benefits are, what are the benefits?
But I think for me, I've worked as a salesperson, I've worked as management, I've been on that kind of that coalface, so to speak, and you become that expert in everything that, you can go into a call and what they're going to ask you, the top, 10 questions that you're going to get before you even get to talk about, anything interesting, about clinical trials, anything like that. It's always about, how much does it cost? How do you do this? What does it do that? All of these common questions. But your salespeople are the subject matter experts. And I think, the in-house piece is something that you can't replicate. A company is nothing without its people and that culture and that knowledge and things like that, because actually without it, it's just four walls. So I think it's using the people that you've got that speak to customers day in, day out to bring that knowledge through. And I think traditionally there's been such a break between sales and marketing that salespeople get a bad rep for, various reasons. But they're such experts in what they do. And that kind of breakdown between sales and marketing can be really detrimental, whereas bringing the two together and that collaborative of, bringing the insights into marketing to develop the content that then the salesperson can use. And it's that complete equilibrium between the two and that relationship between the two, I think is a real powerful bit of bringing it in-house. And it's something an agency can't do in the same way.
Yeah, I would say that just the sheer volume of stuff that you need to create. An agency can help you with that, but ultimately they're going to need a lot of your salespeople.
But can they?
Well,
Because that's a lot of content.
Yeah, but you know, they can help you get started with the coaching and everything. But I think the actual access that they need to your team, like before every article, you need an interview with an SME. You need the SME to review the article. Videos, you need your SMEs to be involved in the videos.
Yeah.
So there's so much of your team is needed to create all that content that an agency managing that just probably isn't, you know, viable.
They're not going to become that subject matter expert overnight, are they?
No.
Yeah.
And if they don't have the direct access in your team, then they're never going to, there's always going to be that break point. So I think when we look at the volume of content that can be created, so if you think about any product and then all the questions that you get asked during that sales cycle, you know, and then once you've answered those 80% of questions, that more questions are going to come up. So you're going to be constantly writing. And then you have the articles that you want for the website, and then you have the articles that you want for the sales process. So there's an awful lot in there to write, and it's just also cost prohibitive when it comes to using an agency for that. So is content marketing a sales or a marketing initiative?
I think it's a whole business initiative. I mean, obviously your marketing people, your marketing team are the ones who will be delivering all of this content, creating all of this content, because they have that knowledge on how to make it, you know, optimize it. But you need your sales team, but it's a whole business thing. It's not just your sales team, it's also your product managers, your regulation.
Which is why we're saying we want you to bring it in-house, because everybody's included in that.
And everybody needs to be on board with it in order to get, you know, the best content, the best ideas. And it goes throughout your whole business. So obviously it's really helpful for marketing teams because it brings in your audience and your traffic to your website, but also it really helps your sales process. Using content as part of the sales process helps to educate your prospects, so you're having much more productive conversations with them. So I would say, you know, you need to have marketing and sales aligned, but ultimately it's your whole business.
So some people might say, that sounds really expensive. To bring this in-house sounds really expensive, because realistically, when you talk about bringing content marketing in-house, we've already said earlier that content marketing is video and it's content, right? And you know, as a copywriter, Jenna, that you need to be a copywriter to write copy, and you need to be a videographer to film proper video. So therefore, we're really saying you need to bring these people in-house, which is really expensive. So the alternative is, it's okay, we will hire an agency to do that. What's the negatives? Is there a good argument for doing that and saying, actually, I know we're saying in this podcast, bring your content marketing in-house, but that's not always realistic. Like, you know, at what stage does it make sense to use an agency, and what are the downfalls of that as well? So what are the positives and negatives of them?
I think with an agency, you get that speed. So you can, you know, trying to hire a content writer, a videographer, that takes time. It takes commitment and everything like that. Whereas I think if you were to use an agency, you can get started quite quickly. And I think to start with, you as a business know what your top 80% of questions are. So you might go for...
And if you don't...
Then you've got a problem.
No, but also if you don't, then an agency can help you to do that.
Exactly.
For sure.
But, you know, this is, you know, you can get started and actually you can work out if content is the right way for you to go. You know, you can actually maybe plan out 3 to 6 months and get started, because all of this takes organisation whilst you're hiring. You can do that sale enablement piece. You can give the sales team something to speed them up. But if this is something that you want to commit to, it's regular content, and that's prohibitive in cost. So I guess there's two parts of it. An agency is great for getting started. And as with all agencies, they're great for allocating resources quickly. But it's going to get expensive fast. So it depends on budgets, timescales, and all of that sort of stuff. But you miss out on that subject matter expert. You really miss out on that kind of one-to-one, that picking up the phone. Oh, I've got a question about this. I don't understand. You know, why are they asking this? And often the why are they asking this gives you another whole host of questions, because the reason they're asking is because they don't understand something further down the cycle. So yeah, I think that there's benefits of both, but generally, if you want to bring it in-house in the end.
That's interesting though. So it is really in order, and we see this as well actually, because we do a lot in content marketing, and actually getting started and seeing success early on with an agency actually could be a really good idea, because hiring in-house content and video is a big commitment to start off with. So if you can see that success early on, and you're right, you know, if we can get that 80% of questions early on and put them into different tools and teach the sales team how to use those tools, that can be a really quick, nice win, and then show the efficacy of it. And then invest in it further when you see it really works.
Yeah.
Would you say anything else to that, Jenna?
Yeah, I would say it's a big learning curve. Making sure that you know what to write about and making sure that you are delivering it in the most optimal way. It's a big learning curve, and it's a lot of organisation. I've found. So having an agency to help you through those first steps can really be helpful. To help you, you don't have to go through that massive learning curve of, is this working? Is this working? An agency should know this is what you need to do.
Specialises in content marketing.
Yes.
Yeah.
They should know this works, rather than you having to experiment to find what works.
That's a really good point, because actually, just as our own experience, because we do this all the time, it's taken us a long time to really learn how to do this effectively, what we need to use to measure it. Cadences of things, like what we should be talking about, how to write certain articles, what engages people. So how to create all the videos we need, like how to use one-to-one video. I mean, these have taken us a long time. So actually using an agency to help you to get over that learning curve makes a lot of sense. And then when you're confident, bring it in-house after that. This is obviously a big cost, whichever way you do it. So if you come to an agency first, it's going to cost you quite a bit of money. If you bring it in-house, it's definitely going to cost you money. But what are the real benefits of doing this? What is this going to mean to a company? Like, why are we so passionate about content marketing and people taking this on?
For me, it's about saving time. It's about, the whole raison d'etre of a company is to grow, to, I mean, unless you're purpose driven, but most of the time it's revenue, it's profits and everything like that. And actually, this is a real enabler. It speeds up that time. It frees up your sales team. You mentioned earlier that the sales team is an expensive cost. Actually, we're not saying that we shouldn't have a sales team. We're saying give them the time to be able to, to really convert that business, to spend time where it matters to them, to support clinicians, to patients, whoever it is that they're working with. So they're not having to answer the questions that they get asked all of the time, every single time. So for me, it's a time saving for the business to allow it to speed up those sales cycles, and also qualifying leads, because I think so much of the time, I was a salesperson, I spent time chatting to people that were never going to be customers after answering that first question, yet you still had to go through that whole meeting. You may be there for 20 minutes, half an hour, both sides going, actually, there's no point in this. So if you cut those people out straight away, you can actually spend time with people that...
And the drive to the customer and the drive...
Exactly.
But you said something really interesting earlier about conversion rate. So, if you think how much, just as an example of where content marketing can really add value, if you think about how much an average customer, and anybody who's listening can think about this now, so what is an average conversion worth for you? And if you can increase that conversion rate using content, and you can increase the fit of the customers that you're in front of, which basically means each customer you're in front of is going to convert faster and has a higher chance of converting because they're a better fit. What does that mean to your overall revenue? And in fact, what you'll find is actually the gain that you see from content marketing puts the cost of it into insignificance, which is really exciting. But back to everything we say, you must be able to measure it. Because, if you can't do that, then actually you can't show the attribution or the revenue attribution of it. So, Jenna, is there anything you would add to why companies, like why we're so excited about doing it, but why companies should be so excited about it?
I think, we spoke about it at the beginning. It's all about building trust. That's going to help you increase your leads. So we've spoken about how it helps you to convert your leads, but also, drives more traffic to your website. You've got all those SEO topics, but also content to put out on your social media, etc. It's really bringing in more traffic and more leads for you. When they see that you have honest, open content, they're more likely to trust you, so more likely to get in touch with you. And I think, I think it's a twofold thing. It's more traffic, but also expedited sales process.
Yeah, it's the two sides of it, which is really interesting. Yeah, so it's the both sides, which is really interesting. I think one thing that I always think when it comes to content marketing and medical device is I think it's such an opportunity for companies because of the regulated space that we sit in. People are not talking openly and honestly, even though you think you are. I think a really good barometer of this is the conversations that your sales team are having every day with their customers. Where is this on your website? Where is this in your sales materials? And if it's not openly on there, why is it not? And how can you do it? Because if you can start talking about things in a way other people aren't talking about them, and I said it before, showing things in a way other people aren't showing them, you are immediately going to stand out and build the trust, Jenna, that you were talking about. And of course, you know, when any of us make a purchase from a company or align ourselves with a company, why do we do it? We do it because we trust them, you know, and we have a connection with them. So I think that's the most exciting thing for companies, and why you should take marketing in-house, going back to that, because this will enable you to do things that other companies just are not doing, and it will really enable you to stand out in the crowd. But, you know, it's a company-wide thing, so you need to get regulatory in line, you know, senior management needs to be in line, because you're going to be talking about all these things that other companies aren't talking about.
Yeah, and just by bringing it in-house, the sheer volume of content that you can create, 18 months, none of your competitors will be able to catch up with you. So, you know, you're really getting ahead of the competition by bringing it in-house.
Yeah, and actually once they realise what you're doing,
they won't be able to catch up.
No, because you'll be so far ahead, which is actually very similar to a clinical development plan. Yeah. It is really, actually, when you think about it from a medical device perspective, you have a really good clinical development plan. By the time you're in the market and you're differentiated from your competition, really nobody can catch up with you. So it's not dissimilar to a really effective clinical development plan, which is interesting. Fantastic. Okay, so if there's one reason, I can ask each of you, what's your main reason? We might even have the same reason. What's the main reason we should, or a company, people who are listening to this podcast, should think about taking content marketing in-house, or at least think about taking content marketing extremely seriously in 2024?
For me, it's that everything is online now. You know, we buy online, and, you know, we're a digital consumer, and medical device really is going to be no different. So you may as well get ahead of the competition before the competition catches. That to me is a big one, is that it's a field that, as you say, is highly regulated. People aren't doing it, but there's just such an opportunity. Yeah, Jenna?
I think it's how marketing can actually affect the sales process. You know, they've always been siloed, but now actually you can bring them together, and marketing can help you or your sales team to be more effective.
Yeah, I think that's the Salesforce effectiveness is a huge thing for me. I think you can see immediate impact by bringing content in-house or doing content outside, but ideally we want it in-house because of the huge benefits that brings. But the improvement or the efficacy you can see, I think, is huge. Fantastic. Thank you, everybody, for watching the Medical Device Marketing Podcast. I hope you enjoyed our new setup, and we look forward to seeing you next week. This episode of the Medical Device Marketing Podcast was brought to you by Podymos. If this conversation sparked any new ideas for you, or you want to transform your medical device marketing approach, then our door is always open. Visit www.podymos.com and explore a treasure trove of information about medical device marketing on our Learning Centre. Or, better yet, get in contact with us and speak to one of our expert marketers, as they're as passionate about medical device innovation as you are.